Good day. It's Thursday, August the 12th. I'm Martin Gago with Market Radius Research. Today we've got Alex Kenman, CEO of Cross River Ventures. Cross River Ventures is a gold exploration company focused on the development exploration properties in Northwestern Ontario. The company controls multiple projects, over 28,000 hectares in highly prospective ground in and among prolific gold-bearing greenstone belts east of the Red Lake region. And I always like to say why I've got a particular company on. And I've actually met Alex several years ago with a prior venture of his, but really it is, no offense to Alex, but his technical team is outstanding. And it's in and as a good technical team would do, they're operating in a very good region of the world, both lots of gold exploration and a pretty mining friendly region as well. So there are a lot of opportunities there. So as a reminder, this is not a recommendation or investment advice. We're here about to learn about the company, do your own due diligence, and come to your own investment conclusions. Alex, thanks for joining us today. Let's hear the story.
Thank you, Martin. Appreciate it, and good to see you again. It's been a while, but happy that people are interested, because honestly, this is it's a really, really good story, and we're happy to share it. We've been pushing forward here for about a year, and things are beginning to take shape. So, as Martin mentioned, we're a gold exploration company. We're located in Northwestern Ontario. I guess the main thing here is this hand-picked projects is important. The projects that we have in our portfolio were handpicked by a great technical team, and I think that's a great way to start it. These are highly prospective, and we're in a good place. So let's get into it. Obviously, we have a disclaimer. Most decks do. I think it's important to note here that the technical content in here has been reviewed and approved by Dr. Rob Carpenter, our qualified person. So why CRVC? Here's a very simple checklist that everybody can understand. Obviously, we have more than one project. We are a multi-project portfolio with over 28,000 hectares in Northwestern Ontario. These are some of the most prolific greenstone belts in Canada and really in the world. We have a world-class technical team, proven exploration and discovery success, which we'll get into momentarily. Our senior management team has decades of experience in the capital markets. So that little combination of the tech team and the management team, I think, makes the deal very strong. And also, we're an early stage capital. We're in an early stage still for our capital structure. We IPO'd in 2020, so we're still pretty early. We're in the first inning of that 9-inning game, and that's important as well when we talk about how many shares are outstanding and where the float is.
You know, Alex, just to go back to that, often on like exploration or junior or any kind of on the mining side, or really, sorry, any company, even if it's a technology company, like, because junior exploration are all about spending money in the ground. You got to raise the money, and those are two very different skill sets. You get great geologists who get in front of a boardroom and who don't know how to work that side of it, and seldom do you get both combined into one. So having those sort of roles separated makes a ton of sense. And the guy who's good at the money stuff and the market stuff is great, and then the guy who likes the rock stuff can do the rock stuff.
Right. No, it's a complementary thing. It's like that in anything. You need to be able to complement one another. Very few people possess the entire skill set needed for success in this business. Most deals have multiples behind the scenes that work together and concentrate on their strengths and bring those to the forefront. And it's a good recipe for success. Okay, technical team. Here's really the horse is pulling the cart, if you will. Lori Peslowski, our exploration manager, she's fantastic. She had a lot to do with the shovel nose gold discovery there for West Haven. Dr. Alan Wainwright was involved with the Copy gold discovery in the Yukon with Kamenek. Obviously, Rob Carpenter was the CEO of Kamenek, and Kamenek, of course, was sold to Goldcorp for $500 million on the basis of that Copy deposit. And of course, Dan McNeil, founder of Vector Geological Solutions, is also part of the team. So 2 masters and 2 PhDs, sort of, driving the boat, and we we like that. To me, that's a very exciting part of what we're doing here. Obviously, you know, the technical side of things, it's a tough business, exploration. So when you have people who've been down the road and have done this type of work before and had success in a major way, that takes a load off of your mind when you're setting into these things. So we're happy to have them. Let's go to our management directors. There's myself. I've been involved in the public markets for 30 years, more or less, on and off, with multiple companies. As Martin mentioned, we've met before in other companies. John Fraser and I are the sort of the lead guys. He's the president. John and I work very well together. He's a capital markets professional, been around for a while. He's done lots of stuff, ex-broker, knows the business quite well. And Dan and Alex Tong, they round out basically the day-to-day management team. And let's take a quick look at our board. A lot of people here on our board with a lot of success. Costa, Mike Sieb, and Perry Grunenberg have been around. They've done a lot in their own right, and we're happy to have them too. We can bounce a lot of things off of them. Mike's a geologist. Costa's done some big deals, knows the business in and out. So again, strength in management. One of the reasons why we like Northwestern Ontario, it really is one of the most mineral-rich environments on the planet. I love these by the numbers slides. This is a really good one here. Over 200 million ounces gold production in Northwestern Ontario on these greenstone belts. A total endowment exceeds 300 million ounces. Just understand how big that is. That's prolific. 124 mines since 1901, and more than 21 gold deposits, over 3 million ounces each. So, you know, when you look for elephants, you can't go to Winnipeg. You can't go to, Boise, Idaho. You have to go to where the elephants live if you're hunting elephant. And in Northwestern Ontario, in terms of gold deposits and gold mines, is a great place. And it's underexplored, and we'll get into that. People may not understand that part of it. That's the reality, is it hasn't had systematic, detailed exploration in many areas, and these are the same geology as other areas. Go ahead.
And that's a lot of land up there. It's not like you can explore that too easily over a few months or a few years.
Right. No, and you'll see when we get into our portfolio, you know, our projects are spread out in Northwestern Ontario, but when you spread that net wide, you know, you're going to catch a fish. And we like, that's one of the reasons why this, you know, I was attracted to the deal and came on board, and we've since then, we've actually built it up even more. So we'll get into that right now. Here's our project locations. You'll see, obviously everybody knows Red Lake. It's funny to talk about Red Lake because Red Lake really wasn't on the map a few years back. Gold was off, wasn't a darling in the markets. And Great Bear made a generational discovery just south of Red Lake, to be exact. But these belts all stretch through east from Red Lake eastward, and so we have all of these projects sort of located. These are several of the main projects that we have. Obviously, McVicker is the one we're going to talk about today. That is our flagship.
Let's just on those projects. Are they all greenfield exploration, or are they all have they had prior drilling or preliminary exploration on some of them previously?
Yeah, it's great. It's a great question, because you know, often you get that. Well, if how do you know there's something there? If there's been 100 drill holes, you have to ask yourself, that is that elephant there? Where could it be hiding after 100 drill holes? Or you get into a situation where you have just enough information, just enough historic exploration to say, hey, there may be something here, but not enough to kill the deal. So we look at that here, and that's the case with all of these projects. There's a little bit of work, a little bit of flavor that tells you something's going on, but not enough to where you wonder where it could possibly be hiding. So yes, some of these are a little greener than others. Some of the projects have more historic work. Dent Jackson, for example, has historic mine on the border, essentially. And you'll see when we get into McVicker how much historical data we have. Here's the regional endowment, why we really like where we're at. Obviously, this is the well-known Red Lake Camp, 20 million ounces or so. Lots of working mines, lots of producing mines in the area. The blue obviously are gold occurrences and known hits. And you go east of here, and these greenstone belts, you're not going to find too many of these dots outside the greenstones. That's just a geological fact. That is the technical side of things. So, we concentrated the portfolio on making sure that they're on these greenstones. Because when you're looking for discovery, you need to be on the greenstones. But I want to direct everybody's attention to McVicker up here and the size of McVicker. McVicker encompasses the entire Lang Lake greenstone belt, essentially the controlling features of the greenstone belt, and that's this. And then let's just superimpose the size of McVicker over, let's say, Red Lake, or here, Springpole. That's a big project. That's 12,000 hectares right there. We're just down the road from Golden Patricia Mine, a historic mine, which is a little over 600,000 ounces, 50 grams per ton. So we'll talk about what's going on here momentarily. Again, mentioned that McVicker is our flagship. It's rare to be able to sort of control a large piece of land like a greenstone, it's not a huge greenstone belt, but it's big enough, and that's, as you saw on the last slide, quite large. We pieced it together. The original acquisition was pieces of McVicker. We then contacted Argo Gold, and Judy Baker was fabulous to work with. We made a deal to acquire what Argo had. And since then, we've pieced it together and sort of consolidated this land package. You can see the gold occurrences that are historic in nature, but all across McVicker. But here's that's nice. Here's what I like is it's on trend here to say Golden Patricia, for example, as I mentioned, a couple of smaller deposits in the 5 to 6 gram range all along here. So, we're not in an area where a gold deposit is rare. This is what you get in these areas. There hasn't been any concerted effort since BHP had the project in the 90s. And that's really what happened was a lot of these larger packages were controlled by the bigger companies in the early 90s. And they all cut and ran after BRIEX and flow through changes and the price of gold. They essentially left the area. And what happened is, for example, McVicker was pieced off into smaller claim packages that prospectors would run, and a little bit of work over time, but it never had large systematic exploration applied to it. So that's what we're going to do, and that's what we've been doing literally for the last 8 to 12 months, and we're just heading into another phase, which we'll get into here. Go ahead.
If you could flip back there. When you talk, like everyone always talks about greenstone belts, especially in Ontario and so forth, what exactly does it, like mining 101 or exploration 101 or geology 101, what is a greenstone belt?
Essentially, these are, they're areas that are very favorable geologically speaking, technically speaking, for gold deposition. So you're looking for areas that there's shear zones, there's faults, there's cracks in the surface or near surface geology that allows the gold to come to surface as a fluid and form and pool and sit and wait to be discovered. And so that's typically what you find is these are just geologically aligned areas that have the requisite criteria for gold deposition. We're looking for gold deposits. You need to find, as I mentioned, you're not going to find them in downtown Boise. You're going to find them in the greenstone belts, and that's why you see these gold occurrences, very rarely find themselves outside of those belts. They're in the belts. They're in the belts for a reason. It's not, it's not that complicated. So that's really the reason we're there, and the reason why most companies apply their trade in the greenstones. Whether that's Africa, whether that's Quebec, Ontario, wherever we are in the world, for the most part, gold deposition is found among these. Okay, quick look at McVicker itself. And you can see some of the zones and some of the areas that we see as priority target areas and what we see as being important. First of all, it should be noted that there's a small copper deposit on the project. It's historic in nature, but it's here. And it's small. I mean, it's 23 million tons, grading about almost 30% copper, which is a lower grade, but it's expandable. The deposit remains open to the east, the northwest, and to depth. So that's kind of the little bonus that we weren't really focused on, but sort of came along with the package. Really, I think it's important to look at the Cello vein. The Cello vein is the exciting priority target number one. among the priority targets. The altered zone and the extension zone here also have a lot of interesting characteristics. I'm moving this so we can see what the grades are, some of the rock samples in the area. But this is really important. The Cello vein, BHP did a 34 trench sample program back in 1993. The average grade of those 34 samples was 28 grams per ton. So that's impressive. That's high grade. And when you look at some of the samples taken in this area, 500 to 78 grams, 533 grams, 412, and 827 grams. Those are indeed bonanza grade. So there's something interesting going on there. And, you know, when companies like BHP were doing the work here, they weren't necessarily looking for gold. Gold was, you know, very cheap. It wasn't at the forefront of mineral exploration to a great degree. A lot of the exploration that was done at that time was really base metal. So, you know, they'd see these gold zones and they kind of brush through them. So when I should clarify what the tech team's been doing for the last 8 to 12 months has been going through all the historical data, piecing together all of the little work that was done when this was broken up, and coming up with a large scale look, an overview of what's going on the property. And all of that work, all of that data compilation has led us to this. So we kind of have a great idea where the priority targets are on the property. We're actually in there now doing some groundwork to prove some of these areas, and I'll explain exactly what we're doing here. I think it's on the next slide. Here we go. So one of the things we wanted to do, and what they weren't, companies like BHP weren't able to do back in the early 90s, was apply things like LiDAR and using things like GT probe technology. So these are newer technologies. They're you know, technology evolves. It makes things easier. It de-risks certain points and parts of what we do in exploration. So we're able to take something like LiDAR, which is a topographical airborne survey that allows us to identify cracks, folds, breaks, these areas where gold typically pools, but using this airborne technology allows us to find these cracks a little easier than before. We obviously still have to get on the ground and ground truth them with human beings, which we do, but it's important to note that using and flying LiDAR surveys over these projects is a great use of technology that did not exist in the early 90s. We're using something also called a GT probe, which is we're using a company called Ground Truth Exploration, and Ground Truth uses GT. GT probe is essentially a kind of a RAB type drill that goes in, does some bedrock work and till work, and you get a look at very quickly at what you're getting into. And it's easier to permit. It doesn't. It's a precursor to diamond drilling, but it really helps you again de-risk to get to those target zones with a better chance of success. So we're applying this right now. We're working into it. There's been some fire issues in Northwestern Ontario. It's kind of slowed things this summer, but we'll be drilling in the fall, early winter, through the winter. I think I'm not sure how long the duration's going to be, but we've done 12 months, 8 to 12 months of data work. We're now doing the ground truthing and some sampling, and some, you know, we're identifying the outcrops and basically proving that these are the areas to drill, and then we're going to drill. So it's been a phased exploration program to date, but we're just getting into the exciting part, which is drilling, which is coming in the next few months.
Alex,
Yes,
sorry, I've never heard of, like, I know what LiDAR is, and you explained that well, but GT probe, that's some like shallow drilling technology?
Yeah, it's a RAB. It's a RAB. They even use downhole viewers. They'll use a camera that goes down a hole. And they can actually identify, and then they're actually sampling stuff as it comes up in real time. So the turnaround there is much quicker than you know, typical, you know, RC or even diamond drilling. But it's a cheap, easy way to sort of add a layer into the process to de-risk ultimately where the diamond drills go. Now that isn't to say that, you know, you guarantee a hit with a diamond drill. You know, this business is tricky. Mother Nature is very good at hiding things, but good experienced geologists can utilize technology like this and really hone in on the priority areas with greater success than they could have 10, 20, 30 years ago. So utilizing newer technologies, kind of leading edge technologies. This GT probe is actually being used quite a bit in Newfoundland right now. Sean Ryan's company, Sean Ryan's wife actually runs Ground Truth And so they're really busy in Newfoundland right now using GT Pro technology. So it's being proven out. It's relatively new, and it's something we're excited to use. Everybody's confident that this is the right path to take to help de-risk those first few holes. As I said, there's no guarantees. Certainly, you want to be able to, especially on the size of something like McVicker. But it's great. It's great to have it, and we'll be utilizing it moving forward on all the projects. This is a great overall view of basically the Uchi subprovince. This is the Archean Superior Province. This is the main greenstone belt that stretches from Ontario, Manitoba border all through, really through Quebec. You can see some of the deposits in the area: Spring Pole, Pickle Crow, Golden Patricia, which we mentioned. There's Red Lake, obviously. There's Dixie, that's Great Bear, again, a little south of Red Lake. But you can see our projects. These are all our projects. Pardon the typos. There's a few of them in this version of the chat. But you can see also this version had the pre-consolidated McVicker. So these were the projects that we pieced together here at McVicker to create McVicker project. So that's really just one project now. But you can see obviously where these things are located. These historic mines, these historic the historic production is all along the greenstone. But we're talking 300 million ounces over these greenstones. I mean, it's a big swath of very geologically favorable land, and so we've concentrated mostly in there. You can see Fuchsite, one of our other projects, is south of the subprovince. Manitou, which has some great numbers, is also south. So we're not completely in here. These are also greenstones. I should mention, you can see that. But this gives you an idea of the size of our overall package. We are not going to work all 12 projects. We're going to do the requisite work to bring them to a certain stage. And we're going to look for partners on some of these projects, maybe vend them out, sell them, whatever the case may be. If we do 2 or 3 or 4 of these, say with earn-in agreements with other pubcos, we could end up with a nice revenue stream. And I don't want to say we're a project generator, but we're also looking at utilizing project generation as a portion of our business model to help fund what we do. Because as you mentioned earlier, Martin, exploration is sort of a rinse repeat cycle of dilution. You raise equity, you do an equity financing, you put the money in the ground, you hope the share price remains strong, you do it again, you do it again, and you do it again. And over the course of time, share structures can blow up or get inflated. One way to help mitigate that possibility is to bring in revenue by utilizing projects in your portfolio. So rather than having 1 or 2 horses in the stable, we've got a pretty good, robust project portfolio that we can maximize by finding partners to help us with other projects in our portfolio and utilizing potential revenue streams from there. So we can get $1 million a year just from earn-in deals. That certainly helps mitigate the dilution rinse repeat cycle.
Over the on that whole, with all these projects, is the next 6 to 12 month all focused on McVicker, or are you going to dabble in sort of to move some of these other projects a little bit forward, do a little sort of preliminary exploration?
Yeah, good question. The data compilation has been for all of the projects. So what we've been doing over the last 12 months really is building the case for all of them. McVicker is the flagship, simply size, location, the opportunity to control a greenstone belt ourselves. That all makes sort of McVicker stand out. Plus the historic work there has been fantastic. But down here, I'll take you to Manitou, for example. Manitou's down here. It's been active as an exploration property for quite a while. There's some historic production on the project. 2015 sampling, for example, gave 340 gram per ton grab and 140 grams. So there's some interesting things. Actually, I'll show you something when we get over to the next couple of slides. But also Dent Jackson. But look at Ear Falls, Shabu, and Mascouche. These are larger projects, but they're much earlier stage than say Dent or Manitou. So we have a wide range of these projects, but they're all going to be eventually, once we've done the data compilation and whatever groundwork we do, we are moving these projects forward and actually setting them up to find partners, a lot of them. We're going to keep 2 or 3 or 4 to be our main focus, depending on how things go. I mean, it's pretty fluid depending on how things go over the next 6 months. But I want to make certain that people understand that we're not going to be diluting ourselves and running in 12 different directions. We want to be focused on the best projects in the portfolio that are really our priorities. Let's look at the next slide. So here's a look at Manitou, for example, some of the target areas on Manitou. There's a couple of trends that stretch across the project ground. You can see some of the rock sampling done, and you can see where it slots in. But there's a lot going on right here on this Queen Alexandria Bird Island trend. Some nice numbers here north of 10 grams per ton. And so, these are the types of things where you go, okay, well, there's been a little bit of work done here, but not enough to go, where is something hiding, but enough to tantalize enough to go in and continue to work and utilize this new technology that maybe hasn't been applied to a project like Manitou to help us define and get to better targets. Same thing here on Dent Jackson. Again, our work has been able to piece together some really nice sampling work down here, plus up here. So we're wondering here, does this trend through this small lake? Do we need to go under the lake? There's been, obviously, you've seen there's occurrences here it's been drilled here, and you can see that there's something going on here. I mean, that's pretty sizable. It's well north, 2 to 3 kilometers of strike with bonanza grade across the strike. So we'd like to get in there and obviously prove it up. We think there's something going on here, but it gives you another idea of applying more modern techniques to historically known situations, and you'd be able to, it's going to enhance what's going on. So Dent Jackson is a great project, has really nice targets as well. So Manitou, Dent Jackson, obviously McVicker, these seem to be the projects that we're concentrating really our efforts on in the beginning time. One other one quick to look at is the Fuchsite Gold Project. This is an earn-in that we entered into with Ethos Gold. Rob Carpenter really likes this project. It's the main reason we have it. This is southeast of really our main project ground. But this gives you an idea of what some of the newer technology does. Residual magnetic intensity, RMI, gives us these fault zones. You'll notice these are cracks or breaks in the surface ground and subsurface that allows gold to come in or gives gold an opportunity to come to surface. You'll notice that the known historical mineral occurrences on this property all occur. Here's one here. There's another one up here, another one over here, and they all naturally are within spitting distance of these breaks. So again, getting these types of imagery, this type of technological advance gives us a much better idea of where things could be hiding and where we're going to be concentrating next phases of exploration. Again, early stage. So why do we like early stage capital structure? There's 34 million shares out, and fully diluted 45 million. One thing I think you have to look at here is if we can get to, say, 50, 60 million shares out and make an impactful discovery, say at McVicker, that's a great setup. That puts the ball on the tee for a healthy drive if you're a golfer. That's the kind of thing you need to do. Now, that isn't to say, if you have 150 million shares out and make an impactful discovery, it's not going to be a very beneficial moment for shareholders. Of course it is. But when you're down here in this range, and if you can make an impactful discovery, it can do wonders for share prices. We've seen that in the past with other companies. It comes down to supply and demand. If the demand for shares of your company exceed the supply, and when there's less shares out, that supply is certainly finite. You're going to get a very interesting reaction. Now, you're going to need sentiment. You're going to need a strong gold market. So you're playing to an audience that's receptive. It's a little iffy these days, but those of us who are gold bugs are always waiting for that shoe to drop, and got a hint of it in 2020. And I think we're going to go back pretty soon to if all things continue to play out logically, which They don't always do these days. But if they do, then, we'll be looking at a healthy gold price, and hopefully at about the time we announce a decent discovery. So that's pretty much it, Martin. Capital structure, if people need to get a hold of us, they can. info@crossriverventures.com. Give the number a call, or I'm always available to, and so is John Fraser, our president. We're always available to talk to shareholders, prospective shareholders, or anybody interested in the deal. Happy to make time. So that's the deck, Martin. Happy to hear what you have to say.
Yeah. So regarding on the what are the plans over the next like you're doing when do you start drilling, and there's a question from the audience here about forest fires, and I guess like what should we expect to see over the next 6 to 12 months? Are forest fires, or in Northern Ontario you can work in the winter? Can you just talk about the 6 to 12 month plan here?
Yeah, no, drilling is at the forefront. We're going to continue to work the projects as we have been. But the nice thing is we've done the data compilation. That was the desktop work. So the groundwork is underway. Yes, the fires in Northwestern Ontario have affected that in terms of our ability to use some mechanized components. But that it's lifting in some areas. We just got a notice yesterday that some of the areas, the restrictions were lifted. Other areas still pretty touchy. We are working really well with First Nations in the area as well to get the consultation process done appropriately. So we're permitted, we're ready to go. It's just, again, how quickly can we get in there? What was the weather like? But it's been minimal in terms of impact at this point. It has slowed some things down, but not to a point where there's any concern. We're still planning to drill late Q3, early Q4 at McVicker. We'll see what else the tech team wants to do in terms of drilling. But I do know McVicker is around the corner here. We're in August, September, October. We're looking October, November probably for drills to begin.
And about how many holes or how many meters do you expect to drilling if things sort of the environment goes and your work comes as sort of expected?
Yeah, no, right now I don't have a number to give you. They are working through that. The tech team is really waiting to get the data from the groundwork before they make the call on how much we're going to drill. I would assume it's not going to be a small drill program, and that's the good thing. We're going for it. So we will be drilling, but it's one thing to note. McVicker particularly is 12,000 hectares with multiple priority zones. So, which priority zone is going to get the first drill, they'll determine that. And then, when we move to priority area 2, 3, and 4, and before we even hit the second priority areas, we've got a lot of drilling ahead of us over time, but that's nice when you have an inventory of targets rather than just say one area. That bodes well. It gives you a little bit more confidence that there is something going on. And we know there's something going on. There has to be. It's where the drill's going to hit the happy zones. So we'll wait that out. We'll get there.
And how is your balance sheet looking right now?
It's good. The nature of exploration is, as you mentioned, we have to raise money to put money in the ground. So there'll be more raises in the future. We're good right now. We'll get into the drill season. We'd like to raise more money.
What's your cash position?
Yeah, we're about $1 million and a half. I've got to track how much is going out the door for the exploration that's been going on now. But strong enough. We're not raising today or tomorrow. We'd like to raise. Everyone seems to come back and raise after Labor Day. That's typically a raise money season for resource exploration companies. We might be in there. We do need to raise more drill money, but judging by what other companies have been doing recently, there has been particularly institutional money flowing into specific regions. Newfound gold has brought a rush to Newfoundland. The amount of money from people like Eric Sprott, for example, going into Newfoundland is astounding. The last 6 months or so. There's no reason why a lot of these funds wouldn't be looking at Northwestern Ontario the same way. They certainly did after Great Bear made their very first, big discovery there. So raising money shouldn't be an issue. Biggest concern, obviously, share price. If you look at Cross River, we're depressed compared to where we were last fall. And we were trading, 35 to 45 cents last fall. There was a lot of excitement. Gold was certainly strong. There was a lot of sentiment, and the share price was pushed up, maybe a bit prematurely, but look where we are today. We're trading in that 17, 18, 19 cent range. And not much has changed. In fact, the only thing that's changed is the price of gold. We pushed the projects forward. We're closer to drilling, got better data than we had a year ago today. We're more confident than we were a year ago today. So, you look at that and you go, if you're new to the story, there's an opportunity. We've done some financings at, 20 cents, 37 cents for flow through. So, we're right in that range. We're not too far off of the existing share prices for replacements. So, I'd love to see the price a good 10 cents north of where we are today to do a financing. But, ultimately the market, the sellers determine that. It isn't us. The market determines that share price for the placement, and hopefully people can see the value.
Yeah, that makes a ton of sense. All right, well, we're 40 minutes into this. That's a good overview on the company. So we should wrap this up. Thank you very much, Alex. And any sort of wrap-up comments here before we call it a day?
Yeah, no, I think, as people look to invest or allocate capital to their preferences in the markets, and if you like gold, and you like discovery, and you like to find a pre-discoverer, you like to find something that will give you that big bang on a good discovery, then you have to look at Cross River. Our share count, our share structure is favorable. Our location is favorable. Our technical team is world class. We're marketing the company appropriately, and we're going to get more into that as we move along. We want an audience. These are all good things, and then really drill into McVicker, see what we're excited about, and I just don't think there's too many opportunities out there that compare in this regard. So for the discerning eye, this is a great deal.
All right, thank you very much, Alex. That was great. All the best, and we can circle back and have a conversation after you get some data from the ground in a few months. Thank you very much.
Fantastic. Thanks so much, Martin. Good to see you.
Great seeing you. Cheers.